One of the things that's actually made this year vaguely bearable, something which has helped sort of keep the crushing despair and morbid terror at bay, is music. Just the simple joy of discovering new music, settling in with old classics, things that you've adored previously, just, getting in there, getting your ears open and just soaking it all up. Now, Bandcamp is obviously great for this. Bandcamp is possibly one of my favourite places on the internet. More so than, certainly more so than Twitter, even though I spend most of my time on Twitter. Also, certainly even more than the rare excursions I have into femboy pornography. This site is just fucking awesome. I've sung its praises many times before, and I will keep singing it, because, literally this site is a great business in terms of its own model. It's been a massive success as a venture. But also it does tend to give a lot back, not just in the fact that it exposes listeners to a lot of music they would never otherwise hear. It also does a lot for artists. So there's this bit on the banner at the top of the homepage. Fans have paid $598 million using Bandcamp and $17.4 million in the last 30 days alone. Now, that's a lot of money, obviously. 600 million over its lifespan. When did Bandcamp start? 2007. Okay, so it's been going 13 years. So, for small creators, that distribution is pretty damn good. 17.4 million in the last 30 days alone. That's pretty cool. And obviously I've spoken many times before about how they actually waive their revenue share on a certain day a month, usually the first Friday of every month. So yeah, I have massive respect for this company. In fact, I'm kind of surprised why there aren't more companies like it, because this model does work. And I really don't get what the issue is. And as great as it is for independent creators, labels do exist on here. Which is something I want to come back to a little bit later, but it's there is so many dynamic angles to this site. There is a lot of opportunities here for independent creators and collectives. And co-ops, you might say. But yeah, speaking as not only a reviewer, but also just someone who loves music, especially outside of music, this site has been a godsend. I just love... It's almost like when you go to a record store, assuming that there's one open near you, and just go rooting through the racks. Just that experience of discovery. Just literally click on the Discover tabs. See how it shifts. All electronic. Go through the subgenres. I, of course, naturally tend to go towards synthwave or... Where are you? Witch House. And the thing is that these aren't even new arrivals. You can go through formats. I tend to stick to digital because I don't buy physical anymore. Hey, is that new Sidewalks? I don't think it is. There are literally other tags that you can discover on here. So many that aren't actually listed on the front page. So, yeah. Okay, so this is... Okay, so this is a couple of years old from Sidewalks and Skeletons. But yeah, we've got ambient electronic, Witch House... They're all listed on the front page, but then you've got dark ambient, dark wave, death dream, which was once described as the darkest music genre. Got Perturbator there. Yeah, this is all really cool shit. I love this site. And one of the most interesting discoveries that I've made recently was actually only last week, and it was from an act called Nihilist Jellyfish. Now, I found them through the front page. It was on I think it was on new arrivals rather than bestsellers. But it was actually one of their older records. It was this one, Cute and Pink Sounds. Look at that. Isn't that great? You got a pretty young woman there with bunny ears. You got the lovely little kawaii rabbits. This is all pretty cool. Bit of Hello Kitty energy there, bit of Peter Rabbit energy. Lovely. How very wholesome. This outfit is basically... They do trap, dubstep, and sort of bordering on like vaporwave. They are kind of a vaporwave act as well. So this is a little bit deceptive. Although honestly, considering the fact that like she's not smiling or anything, that might actually clue you in another direction. But I saw this and I went to the 2 tracks on it, Sad Boy and One and Only, and I immediately knew that I was going to have to talk about it. Partially because I found the music really interesting. Really interesting in the sense that it was one of those things that like I'd never heard it before in terms of its like makeup. So things like future funk, things like vaporwave, things like dubstep, obviously they're very distinct genres, you know them when you hear them. But I never heard them sort of combined quite in the way that Nihilist Jellyfish does. They do it, it's not like overloaded, but they sort of mesh things together quite nicely, and I appreciated that. Also, another thing that I really love is rabbit holes. I love discovering an artist, checking out their music, checking out their artwork, and then exploring their links, because sometimes you go off into some really strange directions. And while not the strangest rabbit hole I've ever been down, Nihilist definitely gave me a lot to chew on. So let's just go a quick thing over this. Excuse me. So you've seen the cover here. So we've got this young lady, and then if we go here, you will see that we assume on the right hand side here, this is the same young lady. But this person here has got completely different hair. Also, this logo is fucking awesome. I love this. So who is this? What is going on here? Now, they're a Mexican outfit. And there's 2 names listed here. So there's Hansen X and Jelly, stylized with a 3, much like my name. Much like it would be seen on my Twitter. So there's 2 people here. Who are these 2 people? Where can we find them? Now, I'm not a big fan of Instagram. I hate Twitter, but that's more sort of on an existential level. At least I get Twitter and I can use it for interaction. Instagram, I will browse, but not feel typically engaged with. In fact, one reason I only really use Instagram is because I have friends who are no longer on Twitter who now exclusively use Instagram. So if I need to message them or something, I can do it there. But anyway. Actually, do you know what? While we're here... Hey, look, it's me. Look at that. Edgy. Edgy NB. Yeah, let's drop that in there. Why not? Who fucking cares? Yeah, so I had to rely on this very quite a lot when I started looking into Nihilist Jellyfish, because this is their primary, in fact, really only social media. Besides, well, if you even count it as more of a platform rather than social media, it's YouTube is the other thing. So this is the primary Instagram account for Jellyfish. And you'll note that it has the gentleman we saw in the logo. And this is Yuri Marshall Blue, who has a separate Instagram account with some really fucking cool art on it. And you can obviously tell that this person is also the one who designs the artwork for Jellyfish. There is a Facebook page which I've checked out before. It's basically just this again. But there isn't, as far as I remember, I might be wrong, there isn't actually a Jellyfish Facebook account. So, what do we got here? Well, we've got a lot, so almost like a lot of surrealist art, sort of Dali-esque sort of things like melting clocks and that. Far simpler, sort of just general doodles and art, sort of crayon art pieces and things like that. But then we also sort of start to see things that are a little more kawaii. We've got, this is like bordering on Junji Ito. That's really cool. So there's quite a few distinct styles going on here, but there's also image manipulation. So we've got some 3D art here, which I really like. Sorry, I say. Okay, we're going to come back to that in a second. But yeah, basically, so this video, you can tell it here. This almost looks... This has some vaporwave vibes to it because it has that sort of 90s colour palette. Although honestly, I get a sort of Fall Guys inspiration from energy from that one. But then obviously they're clued into like modern sort of techniques because they're using like 3D graphics for album teasers, as is the case here. And we can see this person again. This is the person from Cute and Pink Sounds. So we have to assume that obviously this woman is one of these two people, and then Yuri Marshall Blue is one of the others. We have no confirmation for that from Instagram though, but maybe we can get it from SoundCloud. Old reliable, old faithful. I'm pretty sure I'm actually already following these people. I'll follow them again. Okay, so if we can, I should really learn how to use things. Okay, let's turn the webcam off for a second. Yeah, here. So we have the listings again. Little Shitty Bites, which is their YouTube channel, I guess. There's the Bandcamp link, Free Music and Moi, love y'all. Secrets, Spotify account, and then 2 Instagram accounts. So Jelly and Hanson. So what happens when we click on Jelly? We get Jellyfish again. And then when we click on Hanson, there she is. So the woman from Cute and Pink Sounds is Hanson. This is like detective work. So awesome. So yeah, I like having to do a little more to actually explore what's going on with the band. I like that. I like that I had to sort of work a bit harder for that. And I've been on some remarkable rabbit holes before in terms of music work. I remember one of the most interesting ones was for this outfit, Civic Duty Records, who I think I've talked about before, and I think Civic Duty's actually been in the chat before. Yeah, check that out. Because there's a lot of things going on there. This is a long-standing, long-existing record label. It's been around since, well, longer than Bandcamp's been around. But they only really had like a burst of activity earlier this year. So they've sort of come back from the dead. And they have exploded in terms of their releases. In fact, I haven't actually checked in for a while. Let's see what's happened since the last time I was there. Last time I checked in on them was when this one, Emma Peel, released September 2nd, so I haven't been back for over a month, and they've released 8 records since then. Now the gaps between these records here was a little slower than that, so they are picking up momentum. Certainly picking up momentum with the fact that they hadn't previously done anything with this channel since it was set up. So there is that. Yeah, first upload to this channel was July 2020. But again, this label has been around since 2006, and they didn't have any backlogs or anything like that. So that's cool. But yeah, this is a really interesting little rabbit hole. So, what does this band actually sound like? Well, if you are really curious about where I'm getting my information from, I'm getting it from the latest article published 2 days ago on Pastor Wasteland. I will put this in chat now, and I'll put it in chat at the end as well, so you can follow any links if you want. So that will help you out quite a bit. It's so hot in here. So, on the main page on Instagram, for the description for Jelly themselves, we have a couple of interesting little tidbits. So we have Deception We have Deception y Amor al Arte. I can barely speak English, so forgive my butchering of Spanish there. The translation I got from Google Translate was disappointment and love of art. And then we've got some hashtags here. So we've got emo, not safe for work BDSM. I don't know where that is, at least in relation to their stuff specifically. I'm not going to click on the hashtag here because of TOS, but whatever. Same with explicit content, uncensored. So yeah, the ones that sort of drew my eye was hashtag emo, hashtag depressed boy. They were the two that really sort of got me. In combination with the idea of like disappointment and love of art. So you would think that based upon what Jelly's account has, that this is all like the music is probably quite down tempo. You know, not a lot of energy. Well, perhaps a lot of like energy, but more like raw rage in terms of emo, very angsty, or otherwise drifting towards sort of the slightly more ironic end of things like dark wave, things like that. Maybe even more sort of just traditional gothic electronica, maybe. But they're actually, as I said before, they really like their dubstep. Like, that's where their sort of main thrust is. But they sort of really mesh it up. So the first one that I've sort of properly listed was it was Sad Boy, which was one of the tracks that was playing in the beginning. And this is Sad Boy. So let's just take a quick listen to this and hope that Twitch doesn't chew me up too much for it. Actually, I'm going to give it a listen on here. I found that track really interesting because, yeah, it's blatantly dubstep. It's obviously very strange. It's a little more mixed up. But in terms of like the rhythm and general vibe of it, it actually made me feel a lot like future funk. It has that same sort of light energy. A lot of it, again, sort of resonating with the pastel colours of the artwork and the little bunnies and stuff. It does have that slight giddy bounce to it that you would expect from like some of the really up-tempo, old-school future funk. But obviously its effects are tied in with dubstep, so it has that much metered drum and bass thing to it. And then obviously there are like drops coming in and out. It's a really, really interesting little concept. It's quite subtle as well, in my opinion, the way that they managed to mesh it all together. This was the first track I ever listened to by this duo, and I was really impressed. I thought this was something quite special. But again, it's not like wildly experimental. It's not hugely avant-garde. But it just sounded very like keen instincts as producers and composers. And just quite a certain like confident grasp of what they can do technically and what they want to express. So this was a really impressive little song for me. And obviously, as an introduction, Cute and Pink Sounds is a really, really good place to start. I haven't had a chance to go through everything that Jellyfish have done. I've listened to a couple of things, so stuff down here. I've listened to Fairy Dust 616. Case I Die was one of the things that was actually advertised here. Yeah, In Case I Die album teaser. See, now that's obviously very recognisable dubstep. But then there's the chopped and screwed issues there, which makes it speak more towards things like Vaporwave. There's the trap. Because they do rely on trap quite a lot as well, they list that as a hashtag. Now this is an interesting little bit of the teaser here, because if you can see, this is very, very interesting graphic design, because this is almost, this is in the sort of more soft vaporwave mold, because this is obviously like heavily stylized. Like there were no interfaces back in the day that really looked like this. But it is supposed to be reminiscent, especially with like the pixel design here. This is supposed to be reminiscent of like early sort of mid to late PC design. So it's very pixelated. You've got sliders and everything here, window expansion, window shrink, stuff like this. And then obviously you've got these little pop-ups popping up and then dropping away and stuff. So I really like that. I think that again gives a good tease to the sort of weird borderland that they exist on, and all of the different barriers they keep sort of jumping back and forth across. So that's really cool. I like that. This is from an album called In Case I Die, which is one of the ones I haven't actually listened to yet. Free download, nice. Yeah, that's this one. Yeah, I need to go through this. This came out in March 18th. So, after I listened to Cute and Pink Sounds, I obviously got really interested, and then I listened to a couple of other things. And then the thing that really drew me in was this one. I should probably turn my camera back on. There we go. This one, which is Worlds Part 1. Now, Worlds is an interesting title. Because anyone who knows their internet history might be aware of a site called worlds.com. I'm not going to type it into the browser specifically, because I have heard there are some issues with this. I know it's still active, people can still use it, but basically it was one of the first sort of open world community. I don't know if you could call it an MMORPG, because it's not a game. It's more like Second Life. If you know what Second Life is, it was basically like the proto Second Life. But it sort of gained notoriety over the past few years because of a sort of urban legend about a cult, a satanic cult, effectively, living in it, based around a couple of different people, including this character called Nexialis. I really need to learn how to use zoom features properly. So you've got this freaky fucking kangaroo dude in what seems to be hell. Poorly rendered hell, but again, this was like from the 90s, and it still basically looks like this now. So I found it really interesting that they called this album Worlds, because given everything else we've seen from them, it's not unreasonable to assume that that's the vibe they wanted to go for. These weird, abandoned internet spaces, just updating them, giving them slightly sort of more streamlined, smooth, textured aesthetic that kind of mixes in what they're doing. And again, there is some sort of occult angles to this. This symbol down here, their logo, it looks like a pentagram effectively. Like it's in the Baphomet style with the two triangles pointing to the top corners. So you're going to get the sense of what's going on here. There is an occult angle to this. There is a retro wave. No, not retro wave. There is a vaporwave angle to this. The music includes a lot of dubstep. It includes some trap. There's even some EDM here. So again, it's an interesting blend of like not just styles, but also sort of aesthetics and generation inspired ideas. So Worlds Part 1 is a 5-part EP. So we go back to the referral document. The first track on it is called Metamorphosis 64. Now, it opens up, and this actually reminded me of the opening. It actually reminded me of, well, the era of, like, the Nintendo 64. So let's have a listen to this. It's almost like a Casio bass. And then that guitar comes in, and that has very post-punk vibes to it. I've skipped ahead like 30 seconds and it's turned into dubstep. You got those Carol alarms. So this is a 5-minute track. And you've got that sort of big dick howling 80s guitar. I mean, that's some serious fretwork there. I mean, that is heavily skilled. So clearly these two really know what they're doing. Now, the big love that I had for this EP actually came from one of the ones you'll see teased on their Instagram, which is Citalopram. I'm sorry, I say it's okay. Now this is very, very worlds.com. And that's Windows Vista, Windows XP. Got blue screen there. Those slowed vocals, that's very vague. So let's just have a quick listen to Citalopram. That's one of the most vaporwave intros I've ever heard. Also, that those beeps, you probably recognise those, especially from basically that's Windows tone that's used when like something's not working. You've clicked on an area that there's nothing to do. It just tells you no, fuck off. Yeah, I've written here that Citalopram, that's track, it's actually called Citalopram 1995. Citalopram 95. It does kind of, it sounded like me, especially the first time I heard of it, like something you could create on like a mid-90s digital audio workstation. But it has the meaty dub and it has sharp sort of disc scratches on it. So yeah, Citalopram is probably my favourite song that I've heard from them by now. I really enjoyed that track. And I really enjoyed this EP. This is some really juicy shit. I really recommend this. Now, I would say, or you could indeed ask, okay, so you really like Worlds Part 1. How do you feel about Worlds Part 2? Well, here's the trick. Unless something has changed since the last time I looked at this, there are no tracks on Worlds Part 2. I used this cover art for the thumbnail for the Artcorn Pastel Wasteland because I like this image because it does seem to cover a lot of the things I wanted to talk about. So you've got an image of Hasten, you've got an image of Jelly, you've got their logo, you've got the repeating use of the word Worlds, so that covers both versions. You've got their sort of two little avatars that they've used in other artwork. And then you've got the aesthetics going on around here. So this is actually a really representative sort of image of them. Go away next, the Islanders. So yeah, this is from Worlds Part 2. So this is actually in some ways like the perfect thumbnail to use for an article, because it tells you so much that can then be put into context later. And again, it just looks cool. But as you can see here, there are no tracks in this EP. And this sort of speaks again to my thing about going down, how I like to go down musical rabbit holes. Because I literally spent time clicking around here. And mate, it's entirely possible I've missed something. But literally, like, I went looking to see if there was like a secret link or if some artwork would pop up beyond, you know, the sort of barrier here. You know, this banner obviously takes you back to the discography. This was really, really interesting to me that they've done this. And again, it does speak quite nicely to the concept of vaporware, essentially. You know, a world that was created and then was abandoned. In fact, I might update the article just to make that a bit clearer. So yeah, this is very much a rabbit hole because it gives you so much more to do beyond the simple experience of looking at the artwork and listening to the music. There's actually a lot more going on here. And I really appreciate that. I like stuff like that. Now, we haven't spoken about the YouTube channel, and the YouTube channel was obviously linked. I don't think it's linked on the Instagram. It's not linked on the Instagram, but it is linked on SoundCloud, and it is linked on Bandcamp. There isn't actually a lot on there. I mean, to be fair, there isn't actually a lot on SoundCloud either. It's mainly Cute and Pink sounds. Then there's the single track of Fairy Dust. And then there's a few other spatterings of sort of singles from In Case I Die. And then there's basically all of the tracks, or at least I think it's 4 of the tracks from Worlds Part 1. Yeah, because there is actually a 5th track on the original. Yeah, Cracks. So there's an extra track on Bandcamp, which is why you should support artists on Bandcamp. So yeah, you get basically a lot of the teasers we've seen from Instagram. But there was something interesting that I found beyond that. Now, obviously this one, that uses an internet meme. I can't remember what it's called. Momo, I think. So again, these are people who are very much steeped in like sort of internet laws and mysteries. Is it Momo? Yeah, the Momo Challenge. The Momo Challenge is a hoax and internet urban legend that is rumoured to spread through social media and other outlets. It was reported that children and adolescents were being enticed by a user named Momo to perform a series of dangerous tasks. And that was related to, I believe, the image that we can see in the thumbnail. I think I'm right about that. Yeah, this image, which is actually from like a Japanese art collective. But this was obviously the one that got attached to the internet meme. I'm really worried about that. So yeah, there was that as well. But the most interesting thing on their YouTube channel is actually this. It's a flip of Beauty Sleep, which is a track by my favourite artist and friend of Past the Wasteland, Violet Pony. This is one of Violet's harder tracks. In terms of like, you know, it's a pretty abrasive track. Still beautiful because everything Violet makes is beautiful. But this was a collaboration with Rectifier and Nami, who is a frequent collaborator of Violet's. But this was really interesting to find because, as far as I can tell, there is absolutely no other links between Nihilist Jellyfish and Violet Pony. So to find them to find that they've covered this artist shows that obviously they have another sort of broad taste of music in their own right. It was really special because it's just like, what a wild coincidence, assuming that there is a link that I haven't missed, or I have missed. Now obviously they've increased the dubstep angle here, and also I love that they've got their own logo invading the video. This is really, really great. I love this track, and I love the original. There's not a huge difference between them. You can't turn on the script. Till I kill it, will you? They've amped up certain aspects of it. I wonder if there's any mention of this anywhere. No. So say there's not a huge amount of difference between the two tracks, but I like that at least played with it in a number of different ways. So they have amped some of it up, but they've also like played with the actual video itself. I think that's really interesting. I like that quite a lot. What is this? Hasten. I didn't check these out. These are little. I love rabbit holes. I've got so much to chew on here. This is so great. And it's also really interesting doing this live because I've actually sort of come up with things that I haven't thought of before that I can actually go back and edit into the article. So I've been given a base by the article itself, and now I've got something I can give back. That's really fucking cool. I'm really happy about that. This is such a great act. So I really, really recommend them. I'm going to go through the rest of their stuff, and I'm going to keep a very close eye on them, because this is like some of the best stuff that I've encountered for quite a long time. So yeah, this is pretty awesome. I'm actually really, really glad that I found this act. And it speaks again to the magic of Bandcamp. And obviously I'm now so grateful to have been exposed to the magic of Nihilist Jellyfish.